Cool. Andy, welcome in, man.
Hey, thanks, Gabe. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Absolutely, dude. We were just talking about kind of your experience in the industry and how long you guys have been in business and why that's super important for customers. So I'd say let's just dig right into your kind of background and then your experience in business. Are you a Nashville native or where are you from?
Well, I'm practically a Nashville native, 24 years.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
originally
native.
from East Tennessee. So when I was a kid, man, I had the Southern drawl.
Yeah.
And you can't detect it now very much. I did spend a little part of my life up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And
Okay.
so up there, it just changed that accent. But been here since 2000, musician, family man,
Nice.
artist at heart. And so with that, that's kind of the thing that got me here to Nashville was the music thing. My brother and I had a rock band.
Nice.
Got to do the gigs, do the thing.
Did y'all play
And
any gigs here?
yeah, we did. We did. We played some places and a lot of like youth groups, churches, outdoor events, all that.
Nice. How long did you do that?
For about a couple years. And then we've served at our church and kind of related things with music as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So married, kids?
Yeah, married. My wife of 19 years, Mia, and 2 sons. Oldest son just graduated high school.
Nice.
So
Congrats.
I'm excited.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Is
College
he
and-
going to college somewhere?
He's looking into college. I think he's starting kind of a gap year with like an internship going on.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Didn't want to come into the family business?
Not yet, but we're talking about some ideas.
Nice.
We'll see what the future holds.
Dude, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Him taking it over and
Yeah.
carrying the torch.
Yeah.
That would be great. And then your youngest is how old?
He's a junior in high school.
Okay,
So
so
he's
you-
getting there now, too. He feels it like, wow, I'm getting there. I got to think
Start
about the
thinking.
future, too. So
What's he want to do?
probably something related to music.
Nice.
Both of them are very musically gifted. So he's also a great athlete. So we'll see between athletics and music what happens there.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very nice. K Creative is your company?
It is.
What's the K stand for?
K is for Keesee. That's my last name.
Nice.
And creative, I believe in a real balance of creative culture in business and also a creative culture of painting and things that we do.
I think that's like there are certain creative one thing I've learned talking to all these business owners is there's certain personalities that go in certain industries, obviously, because it attracts them. But the painters and countertops and tile and anything like that are usually like the creative brained folks. I think it just takes a little bit more attention to detail, which is the creatives tend to have a little bit,
Yeah.
a little patience. I understand like this room is going to take a while to paint, and to do it right, it's going to take a little bit even longer.
Right.
So yeah, to me, it makes total sense being a musician and a creative, and then joining this industry. So let's start about how you started the business. How old are you guys? When did you start?
So really the About Us story is my dad was a painter. He did it for many years. He's now retired, and he just kind of looks at what we're doing and is kind of amazed. But I learned it from the ground up. So the first thing, I always joke at the story, the first thing he ever let me do was just like vacuum. Okay, I want you to vacuum, and really just start with the small things. And then later on, it's like, okay, now you kind of graduate to where maybe you're 14, 15 years old. You've been helping me a lot. Let's paint some trim or let's do some more prep. And so learn it from the ground up, which gives us a unique perspective, I think,
sure.
on the trade. And then I didn't actually think that I was going to get into it in my kind of early 20s. I started in a corporate setting for a while at a big company. Great company, but ultimately, like you said, as an artist at heart, musician, I think more spatially and visually. So it made sense. I had a mentor in my life, particularly, that encouraged me in that direction. So,
awesome.
So like you said, the detail, the visual, and the patience, those good old temperament tests.
Yep.
Man, it was reading like, visual and patient, and because people were like, how can you paint a room for like 8 or 9 hours of the day?
Yeah.
And so that's us,
Yeah, dude, I couldn't be more of the opposite.
Yeah.
Mine would be whatever the opposite of that is.
Yeah.
Just I am I painted this room. You can tell.
And people are like, don't look at my work. I'm like, okay, I won't.
Yeah. No, look at it because it's absolute trash. But
I
like
see some line issues there. Okay, I see it.
down there, over there. I mean, it's kind of pretty obvious. But so 20-something years in business, you said?
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah.
So you
Part of
started it
that
right when you
time,
moved here.
Yeah, I spent some time in sales kind of while I was doing that.
Okay.
So I'm very versed in the service and sales side of as an owner. That's been a lot of my time. But I love that because I can interact with our customers, how we can have a great customer experience. Those things, those values are really important to me and the company. So, but yeah, 23 years, I think definitely helps us give us great experience. We've done a lot of things, almost everything, and from gas station painting to commercial jobs, houses, everything we've done. So.
I mean, there's really no project you guys could walk in on right now and not be familiar with.
Right.
After 23 years of doing it. So you guys do residential and commercial.
Yeah, residential has been our flagship, through the years, and then we've been fortunate enough to do the right kind of commercial projects and those relationships. So we really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I could list out, I won't right now, but list out some of the the clientele we've worked with a lot though.
Nice. Nice. So what's y'all's what's the split as far as residential and commercial? How do you think? 50-50, 60-40?
It's probably about 70-30 residential to commercial. And one thing I'll add too, it's kind of pretty widely known in the painting industry. If you have a residential painter, they're typically the ones that pay the most attention to detail, care the most, have to interact a lot with the customer themselves. They're the ones you really want to have on board. And so that's been part of our training ground. And then when we do commercial, we offer great value, that detail and stuff. Sometimes you see trades that's kind of the flip. In commercial, they learn in commercial and then they don't know the detail. And then, so they can't really paint a house or,
Oh, right. Yeah, that's something that I don't think many people would think about is the difference there, because I think some people think, paint is paint. But when you're talking about somebody's living room versus an office space like this, it's incredibly different.
It's a private space, so we can talk more about it, but like understanding like when we're showing up, do we move contents? What are we going to do with all the details?
Let's get into that. So if somebody finds you guys and hires y'all, what can they expect?
Well, after the initial appointment, myself or one of the sales team members, we work from the beginning to set the right expectations and communication. So those are the things or common questions are, what time will you show up? What time are you done? Do I need to move contents? How many days will this take? And so those are the things that kind of set us apart because we have answers to those things. We arrive on time. We're going to have a clean work environment. You'll know what to expect. We try to really strive for customer experience and make you comfortable with the whole process. And
that's such a differentiator, man, because I think, at least in the majority of households, if you asked, what their expectations are for a paint company, it wouldn't be that, right? And that's why companies like y'all's can really stand out as professional, quality, and hugely different when you're getting your house painted. Which is I always love talking about these industries because it's so much more intimate than people give it credit for, right? You're going in and they're trusting you with a lot. Right. Not only are you in their house, but they're trusting you to completely transform it and trusting your expertise, trusting your quality of work and all that stuff. So I think the thing that a lot of companies miss, or in the past have missed, the unprofessional ones, is you really don't want to just see somebody roll up in a white van and roll out and just paint all over their clothes, right? You feel much more comfortable if a professional company shows up. They've got maybe a wrapped vehicle or at least some sort of stickers on there.
Make sure the rusted white van too. That's the best.
The beat up rusted white van, the Chuck in the truck type thing.
Right. Yeah.
And you automatically go, ooh, is this going to turn out well? And maybe it does sometimes, right? I'm sure there's some guys out there that can do that, but I think you're rolling the dice a little bit more, right? If that's what you're doing as a homeowner,
right? If you're looking at price only, if you're looking at things, and don't get me wrong, we're we strive for excellence and accuracy in pricing. When we measure houses, spaces, we're using laser measurement versus just kind of guesstimating at it, and so we believe in being accurate with that. We mentioned earlier about not only the right communications and what to expect, but we're also kind of expertly positioned to know what kind of product you're going to need. Because some house here may just need, a standard, middle type quality paint, based on your budget, or others are requiring near perfection. And so we know how to do all of those different things.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's a huge differentiator too, which is what the experience and time gets you that you guys have in, tenfold. you know, 20-fold,
Yeah.
23-fold.
Yeah. Yeah. We've come a long way. We're always like seeing how we can improve something or processes, but or training. But yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into that a little bit for like the future business owners out there. Maybe the guy who's, you know, been working for a paint company wants to start his own. What's the challenges that you've seen throughout the 23 years in business? If you think back to years 1 through 5, 5 through 10, and so on.
Yeah.
What are those challenges like at the beginning, and then how do they differ, or do they differ? They're just at different levels.
Yeah, some of it's going to depend on the person themselves. You know, if they're more of a laid back person or go getter, some things can be expedited. But I'm telling you, like, I can have coffee with owners or people getting started and say, hey, I did this, but you know, do this. So there's a lot of advice I could probably offer. But boy, I have so many stories, which I won't delve in, but stories of like sales. I mentioned earlier, sales, if I was focused on two things early on, was I got to do that was always the first thing, like the quality work and then getting the next job or the sales. But then I tell people my van was a mess, my bookkeeping was a mess, my inventory was non-existent, you know, so there's all these things that, as one of my core values and goals, to grow a team and train them right. Yeah. So early on, it's challenging no matter who you are starting out. And so, again, been fortunate enough to, you know, I feel like sometimes we're still getting there, but, you know, fortunate enough to like have grown at least to a point where we can pay even more attention to the customer experience and making the right expert recommendations and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's part of what we were saying there.
Yeah. Setting the expectations, that's for sure.
Also, pricing, as I mentioned earlier, is a big thing in this business. I'll go ahead and say, you know, I talked to a lot of homeowners and they say, I'm getting 3 quotes. And I say, absolutely, that's a perfect, please do. You know, but you're always going to get a low ball, a middle, you know, person, and you're going to get somebody that's really high. And we strive to be right in that pocket. That's our goal because we believe in being accurate with pricing. You know, we didn't start, you know, just yesterday where typically when you just start out, you're going to go low ball or try to figure out where you're at. And then there's always somebody, you know, just really high and just way out there. And maybe they don't even care to get the business or they're too busy, you know, so they're just taking a shot in the dark. But again, being accurate is really important. Yeah, dude,
100%. That sets the expectations for the customer, which alleviates some future problems as a business owner for you, but also makes them happy along the way, which is super important. Yeah. Something you said in there, which was interesting, is, you know, at the beginning, focus on 2 things: doing a great job. Number 2 is getting the next job. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In years 1, 2, and 3, I think that's what you have to do, right? Doing a great job is going to help with number 2, because then they're going to tell people. But you also have to make sure that, you know, you're keeping your bills paid, and if you have employees, keeping them paid and things like that. At what point did you shift to a third focus and be like, okay, now we want to have a clean van, or now we want to tackle our inventory? Because I think that's a question that a lot of entrepreneurs that might be in years 2 and 3 are like, okay, I think I'm ready for that. How do I know? What should they be feeling? Is there any advice you can give that person?
I kind of go back to, it sounds kind of like an obvious statement, but it's kind of a sales-centric statement, is you can't sell what you don't have. And you might say, oh, that sounds great, you know, like, but if you really think about it, that's something that I subscribed to a while back. Maybe somebody told me that, probably through my own education and learning. But you really can't sell what you don't have. So if you don't have team that can paint kitchen cabinets, for example, then don't sell it. It's pretty simple, you know. So over the months and years of, one of the things that, you know, I've looked at, been able to do a little bit of, is say, okay, we've got the right people, that they're personable, they're friendly, they're professional and skilled. We can go in people's homes and we can really do a great job. People that can do commercial work, things like that. So that's one piece of advice, is sell what you have and don't overpromise. Right. Because we like to do the classic, you know, kind of under-promise, over-deliver. Yeah. So
that's a great lesson learned. It's a tough one, especially in your first couple of years when you're just kind of desperate, honestly, for business. Sure. Is if somebody goes, do you do this? And you're like, well, I think I could. You know, it's really tough for them to say, no, we don't. Yeah. You know, especially at the beginning, they're going to want to say, that business owner is going to want to say, yeah, we do. Because if it's like painting cabinets, you're like, well, we paint all day. I could figure that out, right? But that's where you do get yourself into some trouble. Yeah. Because you quickly learn that it's a skill you should probably hone and practice and get better at before you start charging people for it.
For sure.
And that goes with every industry. Everybody's
Yeah.
gonna be tempted with things like that. What's the biggest challenge in y'all's day to day right now in your industry or in your company? Or
So the first thing that comes to mind of the challenges is just simply continuing to identify the right people to join our team. I mean, you hear it in not only the trades but other business industries, just having the right people. And so finding someone who can match up with our values, our high, excellent of work. When people come to work for us, we expect them to have a high standard of quality and detail. So we're pretty specific. So that's a great thing for customers and our results, but it's also a pretty narrow path. So we gotta, and sometimes we try people, they don't work out, but then the key is just saying, well, sorry, this isn't working out, and not just letting them stay around for like a year and mess up your business,
Yep.
So that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Right
No, dude, absolutely. And it's super tough because, if homeowners are price shopping, right, companies that care about things like that are not going to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
Because in order to get a painter that cares about quality, cares about values, cares about taking care of the customer, cares about being on time, cares about, wearing the right shirt, whatever you require as an employer, they're also not the $9 an hour guy.
Right.
Right. So you have to charge more.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of homeowners understand that. It's just hard to put the pen to the page at some point too, if money's tight. But just know what you're going to get. Right. And there's a reason why certain prices are certain ways when you're dealing with professional companies, because they have things like insurance. They have things like all the certifications and the bonds that it takes. And I don't think a lot of homeowners understand that licensed, insured, and bonded is expensive. And that's why a lot of companies don't do it.
And it's only going up more.
That's right.
Especially in the insurance side.
Yes.
Taxes and insurance,
Man,
honestly, the cost of paint may be going down or kind of plateauing, which is good news, by the way, for those listening. But some of those the insurance keeps going up for sure. Yeah.
And it's out of your control, and you got to pay it.
Yeah.
And so I just always like to have that conversation, or at least mention it that way. If there's any homeowners listening, they can maybe go, okay, like I get it.
Yeah.
Right. That starts to make sense if you really look at the numbers. It's not just you running home with a pocket full of cash.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
That
That's
never
maybe
happens.
The idea, but right, and even it's those intangibles, like we kind of touched on a little bit, but we're going to show up on time. We have. Here's another big one. This is a big one. The costs are built in. We like the only time. I'm going on air to say this. The only time we ever change our prices is when it's a legitimate price change. And actually, a few rare times it's like a decrease in pricing, because they'll say, oh, well, we got this whole house, but what we decided mid-project, there's a room we're not going to do, or there's some trim we're not going to do. So that's where also our service comes in, because we have a great back-end system. We know how to deduct the price, or in other cases increase. But again, those changes are only, I know in this business, some trades will say, hey, I need more money for this or for this. And as a customer, you don't want to be surprised.
Right.
So we set expectations like, this is the set price. The only way it's going to change is if you want to add, subtract something. And honestly, that's huge.
Right.
I've heard horror stories of, and so we really want to have that kind of customer experience.
Dude, and that's, like we said, that's the game changer, man. Last couple of questions. What's the goals for the company?
Goal for the company, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, professional painting of all kinds. Commercial, residential has always been our flagship and will always be that. We also have the concrete coatings that we do, like garage floors, lobby floors, warehouses. And so that has been growing for a while for us. And a lot of it, honestly, is based on word of mouth. Because we actually deliver a great result, then those, property managers, homeowners, people are saying, hey, I know somebody, and that's how we keep growing. The future growth, I want to continue to see that concrete coatings grow, because there's so much you can do with that, with the chip flake floors, with the swirl, those awesome. You guys need that in here, by the way. But
I know we do.
We'll talk about that. The swirly metallic look. I mean,
it's so cool.
It's such a great, and especially for businesses too. You come in like a lobby or a restaurant, you see that, it's like, wow, they care about their space, and it visually sets it apart. So I'd love to see those opportunities in the concrete coating side as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's the concrete coating stuff, the garage floor stuff.
Yeah.
Killer industry.
Yeah. It really is.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like the neighboritis aspect, because you can do it for relatively cheap. Like for the homeowner, they don't.
Yeah.
It's not as expensive as you would think.
Yeah.
You know, obviously depending, right? If you have a hoarded garage and you want us to move all that out and then clean it, and then right, that's gonna change it. But if you have a pretty quote unquote normal garage, you know,
2-car, 3-car, 4-car, any of
go
that.
in there, it completely changes that to like a living space almost. You know, like
it does.
And then good for y'all, you got the neighbors over. And everybody's in your garage looking at your floor, and you're out there because now it's a living space and it's not a garage floor and doesn't smell like that and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And where'd you get this done? Boom. You know, I love that industry. The more and more I hear about it, I'm just like,
there's so much to learn, or so much to love about it too. And I'm just gonna geek out for a second on that. I mean, we actually had a customer. If you ever see, I'll probably show it to him. He has his Roomba that's programmed in his garage after we did the coating system. I mean, you should see it. He's got his bike, his motorcycle out there. He's got a Roomba, and he keeps it pristine. Yeah. And it's not just so it's easy to clean. It's so durable. I mean, for years and years. And so, that little bit of upfront cost we're always saying it's so worth it.
Yes.
Because if you're going to be there for at least, say, 5 years or whatever, then it's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, and
you don't have to worry about it.
Big time, dude. And you got a 2-car garage. Like the 2-car garage we used to have, I had the gym on one side and kind of like shop stuff on the other. Would be a perfect garage to do this too, because I was out there using it, not for parking cars, but as like a living space, right? So transforming that to make it a little bit more kind of, more fun to use. You know, you don't feel like you're in a garage. Yeah. For very affordable prices. Be awesome.
We have a lot of customers that we'll do a combo deal for them too, which we can take care of all that, the painting and the floor coating. Nice. And you get a discount, especially on the painting. You can combine it. So
that's really cool, especially if you're like, all right, transform this garage.
Yeah.
Boom. Is there anything? Last couple questions. We always like to ask. In restoration, when we were in restoration, I always wanted like every homeowner to know that time wasn't on their side, right? If they have a leak in the whatever's going on, get a company in, us or not, doesn't matter to me, but time is not on your side, right? Don't wait around for the insurance. Don't wait for days. It's going to get worse. Yeah. Is there something in your industry that you want to like warn customers about? Is there red flags that they should think about when they're hiring companies? If it's not y'all, hopefully it is, but if it's not, like, is there something like that in your 23 years of experience that you've seen in y'all's industry that you would like to give a warning to homeowners?
Yeah, I think just that's a great question. I think be aware of the little things. Like we talked earlier about setting the right expectations. When we come out, do the initial estimate appointment, be aware of the things like if someone comes in and, they don't seem to know, maybe they don't measure. The space. That's one little thing, maybe.
That's a red flag.
Could be, so they may be guessing on pricing. If they don't concisely and clearly communicate what to expect or what kind of products. I'm going to be careful when I say this, but, there's a lot of different kinds of paint and coatings out there. So if that's another thing we do is we specify which paint you're going to get, like the brand, the actual line of the paint, what finish, like, okay, I'm going to promote them for a second. Sherwin-Williams, duration, satin finish.
Right.
That's it's specific. But if it's not specified, be wary because they're probably somebody might try to come in and say, hey, we're going to do that, that 700 line of something that's like, it's like glue and water, and maybe it'll peel, especially on trim too. If you're a homeowner and you're doing anything with like vanities, cabinets, trim, doors, I would specifically ask for like better and top of the line products. I've seen a lot of trades that want to come in and just put like wall paint basically on those, and then they wonder later, hey, why is this peeling or why does this look bad? So there's a lot of things, but just kind of looking at the little things and seeing how they add up or don't add up.
Yeah, that's great advice, and it mimics other great companies in different industries that have been in here. When I asked that same question, overall, what it kind of comes down to is if they're not trying to understand your needs, right? And they're just treating you like another number and going, that'll be 10 grand. Yeah. Right. Whereas like what you're saying is measurements, getting the exact square foot, linear foot they need to paint, and then understanding what your needs are based on what your family does. And maybe that's going to determine the type of paint they need to have and things like that. Right. So, Yeah, man. I think that's the staple of a quality company and a company that cares about the end product and not just solely getting the next customer, like you were saying, man.
Sure.
So, are you on the app? Did we get you onboarded yet?
Oh yeah, we're on the app.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect example of like we want our customers to see, and when they see our brand, they see experts, right? This is why we do this. We want to showcase your expertise in your industry. We want to showcase, Bill and his expertise in his industry.
Yeah.
So that way, if they're finding you or they're posting a painting job on our platform, they know that only the experts are going to see it.
Right.
They don't have to worry about these gig workers or people who are going to mess things up, right? Professional, quality, trusted people in the community is who we're trying to really push forward. So thank you for being that, man. And thank you for the last 23 years of making that happen.
I love the whole approach. I mean, getting the actual reviews that we've gotten as a company, worked hard for. You got, putting that on there, putting this, information on there, and all of it. Just you guys are hitting it right, I think. So.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that. And we've just launched. So as you're using it, if you have feedback, questions, comments, concerns, things we can make better, that's the only way we're going to survive, right? So we want to keep hearing feedback and things that as you're using it and as people are posting painting jobs, if you want to see something, let us know. Yeah. And then that way we can start to make changes to it.
Okay.
So, Andy, thank you so much for the time, man.
Gabe.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Time with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.